One of the really great things about owning an airsoft arena is it gives me a unique opportunity to collect a lot of rare and unusual airsoft replicas that are out there. And I get a lot of comments from people that are interested in, specific guns or even the whole collection for that matter. So I thought it might be cool to, from time to time spotlight one of the guns that are in the collection and maybe start a new series of videos on, some of the unusual stuff that I've collected over the years. And I thought maybe the best way to start this off is to talk about one of the first airsoft guns I got that got me interested in this sport and just in collecting them in general. And that was one of my first guns that actually had a decent full metal gearbox, which is the M4s System. Now, I've always sort of been fascinated by the S system because back in the day, this was one of the first guns that had an integrated rail system on it. Before this, guys might duct tape a flashlight or a laser to it, but actually having an integrated rail system for this particular gun was definitely a very new thing at the time. The S system, for what I knew it as, was the ARMS SIR system, was one of the first uses of a standard 1913 Picatinny rail system, which allowed you to mount just about any standard device, whether it was a forward grip or a scope or whatever. So for what it was in the day, this was a quantum leap forward in firearms technology. Now, as far as the original gun that I got, it was made by Aftermath, which was one of the companies that was, I believe they were selling through Dick's Sporting Goods at the time. I got it probably back in 2007, I would think. And I didn't actually have it for a long time. I got my first gun home, and the battery went dead, and the charger that came with it would not charge it. And I brought it back to Dick's to see if I could get another charger, and they, being Dick's Sporting Goods, didn't really know much about airsoft guns, so the only thing they could do was just refund my money because they didn't have another one in stock. So it was a bit of a letdown. So I went for a number of years, always thinking about that M4s system that I had that I really only got to use for a very short time because of that defective charger. So when the opportunity presented itself years ago, I think I picked this one up probably around 2012 would be my best guess. I jumped at the chance. Now, the original gun that I've got was pretty much in pieces. The original owner of the gun had repainted it. They had spray painted it like all the wrong color. They'd actually painted the rails like an unusual color. I think it was like red or yellow, or it was some ungodly looking color. So I took it home, sandblasted it, actually got down to the original paint, and then I went and did a little bit of weathering on it to make it look a little more authentic looking. For the most part, this is a standard M4 with a ARMS style rail system mounted on it. And because of the way that this system mounts onto the gun, it's a little unusual in that the delta ring and some of the hardware that holds this rail onto the receiver is a little unusual. Now, it appears to have like a clamp that normally you would have a flat top receiver and then this upper rail would clamp down onto it, and it's got a number of bolts so it looks like it does that. But in reality, for the S system, as far as an airsoft gun goes, you need to get a dedicated upper receiver that's designed specifically for the ARMS or the S system, whichever you want to call it, because it does have an unusual kind of proprietary mounting system. In its original iteration, this was one of the first rental guns that we offered here at Replay Airsoft Arena, but we had a lot of problems with it, mostly because of the upper and lower receiver are an ABS plastic, which is very brittle. We get kind of spoiled here with the full metal guns and with the guns that are made with nylon fiber polymers that are extremely durable. These ABS receivers are extremely brittle and very easy to break. The way that this receiver works is it's very much like the KWA style, where it's got two little wings that come down and grab the rear pin on the receiver. And if you smack it hard enough, it's very easy to break those wings off, and then the gun just separates while you're trying to use it. So I've gone through probably 3 or 4 lower receivers on this before I just finally went ahead and retired the gun. You can see when you look at the gun that the upper and lower receiver are obviously two different color plastics. So this is probably the third or fourth receiver that I put onto this particular gun before I got tired of replacing it. In fact, I just recently came into possession of an original Aftermath lower, so I may go ahead and replace it and put the original Aftermath back on it, just for the sake of having the original that I had when I first got the gun. One of the main differences between this and the original gun is the fact that it has the triangular style front sight on it. The original gun had a folding front sight, and when I got the gun, it was in a box full of parts, so I didn't actually have access to the original sight, so I had to use whatever spare parts I had on hand. But I put it on, and I kind of like the look of it, so I've just left the old-fashioned triangle front sight on it. You might notice I've got a foregrip on it. This is not the original foregrip. The original foregrip was a very standard non-folding design. This is a folding foregrip. Foregrips are one of those things that I blow hot and cold on, where I might go through 3 or 4 different foregrips on a gun and then just take them all off completely and then go to just a standard handguard with no foregrip on it. So I just can't seem to decide whether I like foregrips or not. Some of the other major differences with this gun are the internals. I went ahead and replaced the gearbox to a G&G gearbox, which are probably one of the most solid gearboxes that are out there. I tell people all the time that the standard gears that are in a G&G gearbox are usually better than the upgraded gears you get for most guns. So usually when I get a particular replica, one of the first things I usually do to upgrade it is put a better gearbox in it, because it's so much better when the gearbox is dependable. Now the gun is front wired, so your battery compartment is located inside of the handguard. It's a little goofy because it's somewhat of a limited amount of space to get your battery in there. In some iterations of this gun, I opted to put a battery box, like a fake PEC box on the outside, especially when it was a rental gun, because we need to get the guns out and get it in the hands of the customers quickly. So disassembling the handguard to get the batteries in there was a bit cumbersome, so we did that. The wiring of the gun is one of those things that is sort of, I've gone through a bit of an evolution on that, where I used to really like rear wired guns until we started renting them out. And then I found a lot of the time when guys are yanking the stocks out and adjusting the stock length, the wires get caught up and the wires get ripped out of the receiver, and you end up having to go back in and resplice wires a lot. Where front wired guns, they're out of the way and they're inside of the handguard. So for the sake of a rental gun, it's a lot less trouble to have a front wired gun. So I've sort of come for full circle on that, where the front wired guns are really my gun of choice, at least when it comes to rental guns. To top the gun off, I've got a non-magnified ACOG style red dot sight. No particular reasoning behind this other than it sort of looks good with the overall design. I haven't used this gun on the field in ages, so I think if I was actually going to take this gun out and play with it, I might choose a different red dot sight. But for this particular gun, for what it is, I just like the aesthetic of it. So who knows, maybe I will play with it with this particular sight on it. So if you're interested in that particular gun and you want to add one to your own personal collection, you're in luck, because it's still in production by D-Boys. And they've actually offered a number of upgrades over the original model. First of all, this is a full metal upper and lower receiver, so you don't have to worry about any of that crappy ABS breaking on you. They've also streamlined the front handguard in that it just simply slides off, so it's very easy to get to the battery compartment on this gun, compared to the old hinge design was a little more cumbersome to get in and out of it. It does have the folding front sight as well as the folding rear sight on it, so if you're going to use an optic, you can just fold the sights down out of the way. Comes with a front foregrip. And pretty much outside of that, it's a standard M4, so it uses just regular old-fashioned M4 mid-caps or high caps, whichever you prefer to use. Retails in the $200 to $250 price range. For a full metal gun, it's not a bad price, so if you're interested in this gun, you can come down to the showroom and check it out. And if you want to see any of the other guns in the collection, feel free to stop by one day. We'll be glad to take you around and show you the guns. If there's a specific model that you're interested in, feel free to ask about it, because some of these guns are still in production and we can get you a new version of it. Or if you're interested in collecting them the same way I did, you can come to our next swap meet. We do the swap meets on pretty much every major holiday. So whatever the Sunday is closest to that holiday, we'll have a swap meet. If you want to get information on when our next one is, you can follow us on Facebook or Instagram, or just call down and we'll let you know the date of the next one. I'm sure it's usually only a couple of weeks away. So check that out for yourself if you're interested in starting a collection. So till the next time, don't let the bastards get you down.